Hi everyone, the following interview is with MMA legend Yves Edwards. Yves Edwards' MMA career spanned the course of 2 decades and at one time was the uncrowned lightweight champion of the world. His career included 21 fights in the UFC. In this interview, Yves shares what the MMA scene was like when he started back in the late 90s, how it evolved over the course of the next 2 decades as he was fighting, and how it has evolved since. I personally really enjoyed this interview, and I think anyone who is an MMA fan or aspiring MMA fighter will learn a lot from the content in this video. Hope you enjoy. How much did the MMA game change from your very early years until near the end of your career? And then just the follow-up question with that is like, how much has it changed just in the past 5 to 10 years?
That one makes me think, because it's changed a lot. I mean, the beginning of my time in MMA, it was still no holds barred, it was still NHB, you know.
It was almost like the term hadn't been defined yet. What was happening?
The rules weren't even the same, you know. My very first match as an amateur was a 20-minute fight. My first match as a pro was a 10-minute fight.
One 10-minute round.
10-minute round, that was it. So yeah, there's so many different things about it. And then on the training side of it, you had to go everywhere. You had to go to multiple places to get the different aspects of the game, you know. And really, back then it was boxing and or kickboxing and jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Nobody was really wrestling.
Right.
You know. And even when guys like Randy Couture, Mark Kerr, Coleman, Kevin Randleman, when they started, they were still like unique. Like people still weren't seeking out the best wrestlers to get you know, better skills and take down offense and defense. So I think that's like, those are some of the things that have drastically changed. But like going back to the rules were different. Even in the UFC, there was no time limit. You know, the UFC kind of set the standard, and everybody kind of followed suit after they changed the rules,
Mm-hmm.
changed the round times and whatnot. But I don't know if you remember this, but there was a 12-minute, I feel like there was a 12-minute round.
UFC?
Yeah. And then it was a 3-minute overtime.
I don't remember that.
And then they had I don't remember the exact numbers on the minutes, but when Bas Rutten fought Tsuyoshi Kosaka,
Mm-hmm.
like I was there, and I can't remember maybe that was a 12-minute and 3-minute overtime.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they changed it a few different times before they settled on 5 minutes, 3-minute rounds. I'm sorry, 3 rounds of 5 minutes.
I remember when that was happening, it was kind of it was almost like the people in charge were trying to figure out the right blend of what is the best way to put on an exhibition for what we're showing, and what's the most entertaining. Like, we want to show the arts, but in theory you could say, well, the best way to show it is just to have no rules, no time limit. But you run into the bottleneck of people fighting forever and the fatigue of it. And is the best fighter really winning, or is it the one who survived and the other guy's dehydrated? It's like you didn't always get the best version of the individual skill set.
And also, like, stalling.
Right.
You know what I mean? You had a lot of that. And so the best fighter sometimes would not win because I recognize how this guy's dangerous, so I can stall him at a place where I'm stronger, or I'm better, I'm safer, you know, and we're going indefinitely. So it also is not entertaining. Like,
yeah.
When you have no time limit and there are people stalling, like, what are we really looking at? You know, it's not fun to watch. So the rules, especially the round times, were implemented to press the action,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but also to display the technique. But again, like boxing is 3-minute rounds, but 3 minutes after taking a minute or some more time to take a guy down, like 1 or 2 minutes isn't a lot of time to work on the ground. 5 minutes isn't a whole lot of time, but it forces the action. Yeah, it forces the action on the ground. If the fight gets to the ground early, like you have to do something about it. And all these things help the sport evolve into what it is today because, and I think that also evolved the sport to push people to go and find the better wrestlers because like wrestling is that transitory art, It's the art that dictates where the fight's going to happen pretty much.
So when did you recognize the value in that? Because you started in a period where there was no, like now people just take for granted the training methods. There are some agreed upon ideas, like, well, you got to have your striking base, you have to have wrestling, you have to have jiu-jitsu, and then some people, there's no one winning that's not at that high level that's not incorporating these concepts and understanding of them. But it wasn't known when you started. It was just sort of like, it was an idea that had come to life from the first UFC, which really seemed to be a way to demonstrate how effective jiu-jitsu was against another single art. It's like when you strip away everything except one style, jiu-jitsu won. And so for some people, that's, well, I just have to learn this. And then of course somebody comes and, like Maurice Smith comes to mind of like surviving the wrestler, the grappling game, long enough to get back to the feet and win with kickboxing. And so, like, I feel so I'm just trying to get some, like, my question is sort of like, because you endured such a long career at the highest level, what were some of the things that you saw that made you say, like, okay, I need to go in this direction? Because not everyone does that. Some people they're stubborn with, like, no, I want to be old school jiu-jitsu and show how it's going to win, or I'm a purist in this or that. And the best artists are always evolving. Like, why did you, choose these other routes?
I was stubborn for a while, but I was stubborn about Thug Jitsu and about what.
You want to explain that real quick? What Thug Jitsu is?
Thug Jitsu is the quick answer is the modern art of the beatdown. It's really finding a weakness in your opponent and exploiting that. But to do so, you have to have multiple skill sets. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, I was able to get away with being a better grappler if your striking was at my level or better. Or being a better striker if your grappling was at my level or better.
Right.
And being an athlete helped a lot. Not without having the wrestling background that a lot of these guys have today. I was able to avoid a lot of average guys trying to take me down. High school wrestlers, maybe D3 wrestlers or NAIA level wrestlers who never really reached the highest level of even their division of wrestling, because like all wrestling is tough.
Yeah.
But I've been in rooms before where you can just look at when guys are drilling. You've never been in that room before, but you just watch guys drilling and you're like, okay, those are the starters and those are guys on the bench, because in a 5-minute session of drilling a specific technique, these guys have repped out 34 reps. These guys have repped out 14. Because they're talking in between and they're doing this, So like it's that kind of thing. And as I'm competing early in my career, it was either you did jiu-jitsu or you did striking. So I was able to get away with a lot. And then my fight with Joe Stevenson, that taught me that kind of highlighted the importance of wrestling, because Joe Stevenson is not a better athlete than me, and he really only had one takedown. He was good at working the single leg from his right side forward, which would be on my left leg. He got me up against the fence. He's in on the single over here. He feels my defense and it doesn't feel good to him, but he's able to work to the other leg. I think he did that multiple times. And he was able to take me down off at least 2 of them, and that was when I was like, I need to learn how to wrestle. A friend of mine reached out to some wrestlers and introduced me to them and pushed me towards that. And that really helped, you know. Like I said, wrestling is a transitory art, and wrestling mixed with jiu-jitsu and striking kind of helped the sport evolve. Like, I wasn't the only person doing it. Everybody started doing it. There are some wrestlers that started coming into the sport, and what they have to do, they had to start learning jiu-jitsu and striking. So I think all those things help mixed martial arts evolve into what it is today. And now mixed martial arts is really its own discipline. You know, yeah, there are guys who are more focused on the jiu-jitsu side of it. There are guys who are more focused on the wrestling side of it. There are guys who are more focused on the striking side of it. But mixed martial arts is in itself a discipline, just like boxing is, but you have different styles of boxing. You got the punchers, you got the brawlers, you got the technicians, you got the defensive fighters, and that's what mixed martial arts is. It's a sport that encompasses every aspect of fighting, and you know, you lean more towards either what your heritage in the sport is, the way you come up under, and or your instincts, or what what you're more comfortable at. Like, there's some guys that train at Team Alpha Male, but they're not really wrestlers.
Yeah.
They're better strikers. Like, let's say, Andre Fili.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's more of a striker, but I'm sure he's competent in the wrestling and jiu-jitsu department, because those guys are strong wrestlers and they have decent and very good jiu-jitsu. You know, so this is what the sport has become. This is what mixed martial arts is.
Well, it seems like most people start off as some type of a specialist. Now maybe more than ever, you have people that they want to get into mixed martial arts, but they're likely going to lean one way. Oh, I really like this boxing or kickboxing, and they do that for a while. Or I like the jiu-jitsu. Some people, they start, it's like the MMA brought them to martial arts, but they realize they like one element more than the other. Or some of them, you know, the other side is some of them come to one element, let's say jiu-jitsu, and they want to test it in a different arena, you know, with the mixed martial arts. So they have that base either way, but the ones who are successful put in the time, effort, and most importantly, I think, like, the open-mindedness to learn the other side.
Yeah, you have to be open-minded, especially if you're going to do mixed martial arts, because the sport is so rounded. Being a great kickboxer is great, but we've seen tons of great kickboxers come into mixed martial arts and get put on their back and look like a fish out of the water.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen great jiu-jitsu players come into mixed martial arts, and they just bore the hell out of people because, like, they can't take somebody down.
Yeah.
So they end up shooting a shot, pulling guard, guy backs out, makes them stand up, and then, like, this just happens over and over and over again. You don't want to see that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the thing about mixed martial arts, man. You have to have at least, like, not have to have, you have to, there's a couple different things I think you should be doing. You've got to be well-rounded, but if you're a specialist, you have to be really proficient in at least one other discipline.
Yeah.
You know, take a guy like Cowboy Cerrone, right? Kickboxer, good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Wrestling isn't that great.
Right.
You know?
But you can sometimes, you're saying, is kind of like balance the weakest link by being pretty strong in the other two.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, you know, you're a good kickboxer, so now this guy doesn't like that. He wants to take you down. Well, he hits a takedown, but you reverse him, or you're threatening off of your back, and it's like, I don't know if I like this. This situation is precarious, so you pull yourself out, and then you're back to standing up with a great kickboxer. I'm like, fuck, I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot this guy's a great kickboxer. So, those things are things that I think everybody has to think about and focus on once you start to get in the sport of mixed martial arts. But at the same time, specialists, man, they stand out. You know? When they focus on what they're special at. I've seen this happen a lot. I've seen guys fall because they start trying to broaden the spectrum of their skill set, you know, and not necessarily just focus on what they're strong at. Khabib retired at 29-0, but, like, all of his fights look the same.
Yeah.
It's wrestling. It's wrestling. It's wrestling. You know, his kickboxing improved over the years, but he wrestled in all of his fights.
Right.
Israel Adesanya lost one fight against a much bigger guy, right? He got out-wrestled. But, like, all of his fights look the same. Defend the takedown and kickbox.
Yeah.
But he had to add that wrestling defense to his game, and he's competent on the ground to a high enough degree to win all the fights that he's won against those high-level MMA fighters.
Right.
You know, so having that proficiency in one area and being really strong in at least one other one helps a lot. But it also, especially when you're young in the sport, like somebody like Israel, it gives him time to even catch up on the jiu-jitsu aspect of it.
Right.
But he's sharp in the striking and the kickboxing area.
Well, but he's also, and I think this, you hit on something very important, like the mindset of a champion is to stick to a winning formula. And, you know, I think if you get like, well, I'm bored winning the same way, I'm going to try to do something different. That's the moment you get exposed and you lose, and then everyone thinks like, oh, that's his weak point. It's like, he kind of put himself there just to try to satisfy, you know, perhaps to satisfy those critics who are saying, well, he's just a wrestler. It's like, yeah, that's because I'm so good at it, no one can stop it. Like Khabib, it's like, why would Khabib not wrestle in a fight if it's got a 100% success rate, you know?
But who gets bored winning? Right. That doesn't make sense. But I understand there are some people who have that attitude. I'm going to do something different, and I don't know, man. I think that's a big thing. That's a psychological thing. You got to stay within yourself. You know because fighting is the truth.
Yeah.
Like this is sports bring a lot of truth to the surface, but I think combat sports are the most true. I think like distance running speaks the truth. So you have to talk to yourself there. Like I think that's the second toughest sport in the world. That's not a combat sport.
Right.
Because like that mental toughness that comes with that. But like the mental toughness that comes from combat sports is you have to dig deep within yourself, and you have to face an outside force. You know, so with those two things coming into play, you have to stay within yourself.
Right.
You can't be distracted or allow yourself to be distracted by wanting to impress more than you want to work hard and push and get the best out of yourself. Like getting the best out of yourself is the most impressive thing that I can imagine. You know, I say this is not really the same thing, but I feel like it touches on it. I say it all the time, man. When these guys go after they win a fight spectacularly and then they go do a backflip off the fence or do something like that, and I'm just like I'm not impressed with that. You just knocked out a guy who's one of the most elite athletes in the world, is tough, and he was there to destroy you, and you destroyed him. Like you did a backflip.
yeah. That's part of your warm-up routine. Yeah.
So
well, I think that's the showmanship that you're doing for the audience. That if you're a casual fan, it's hard to appreciate what actually goes into that type of training to win, right? And yeah, it's cliche, like to say do your best, like because we say it so much, like do your best. Almost no one does their best on any day. It's so hard to do because your best is actually astonishingly better than what you normally put out. And so that's why I think it's so satisfying when you win and so devastating when you lose. If you did commit your best, it's like it's heartbreaking or it's exhilarating. And there's no in between, like, I did halfway and I won and I feel halfway good. It's one or the other, it seems like, you know. So my other question was, you kind of talked about, you mentioned something about some of the guys at Alpha Male that are not strikers, you know, but they train there. But the other part of the question earlier was, you know, how have things, you know, evolved just more recently, like in the last 5 to 10 years? And my thought to that, like, that was kind of reminding me, is like a big part of it, for me, from my perspective, is just the level of professionalism and cross-training with people. It's almost like the knowledge of the past has sharpened itself and the best version are coming together. I mean, would you agree? Like, what do you think of some of the big changes in modern MMA?
I absolutely agree with that. Like I remember, I think it was like 1999. I went, it was in California, and there's a 4-year-old kid, right? And they had a kids jiu-jitsu tournament. We were at a jiu-jitsu tournament. There's a 4-year-old there, and I was talking to him like, "You a blue belt?" I think it was a blue belt. I don't remember. I was like, "You're a blue belt? How old are you?" He's like 4 or 5. I'm like, "You're 5 years old? You're a blue belt? Like, you had a match?" He's like, "Yeah. How'd you win? Rear naked?" I was like, I can't believe a 5-year-old could do a rear naked choke. I had the kid get behind me in the bleachers, and I see this little arm come around my neck, and I tapped, and I was like, "Wow, this is in 1990 something."
Yeah.
Like late 90s, 1999. That kid's like 20 something now.
Right.
And he's been doing jiu-jitsu since then. Like, right?
So that's a big part of it too, is I think you have the new generation started much earlier. The first generation were people that had done something. Most of them were in their 20s and 30s already, and they're like, "I'm gonna go try to see how my judo stacks up in against another style." And now you have kids that have been good at jiu-jitsu since they were like 8, 9 years old, and by the time they start reaching their physical prime, in their mid 20s, it's just like it's like a different species now.
It is so different. Like there's so many different things. They've been doing it long. They have better textbooks. I mean, back then we were bouncing around trying to put pieces together. Like now, the information that exists, we've shaved off a bunch of things that we didn't understand then. So you've got better textbooks now, which is how evolution should work, right? So the sports evolved because of that. Yeah. So jiu-jitsu. 10, 15 years ago, jiu-jitsu looked at our leg locks with a frown, and now there's all these different combinations and all these systems working from 50-50, and like it blows my mind. I worry about like the apocalypse happening because like I know this sounds crazy when I start, but when I get to the end, you're gonna understand. But like the apocalypse happens, whether it be zombie or any kind of apocalypse, when people start having to fight each other, we're gonna eventually run out of bullets. When we run out of bullets, there's people walking around with limps after that. Yeah. It's gonna be all kinds of people getting leg locked, man. Those are gonna be the most dangerous people in the world at that point, So, but like the sports change, Jiu-jitsu's changed, kickboxing has changed a bit. Kickboxing has grown quite a bit since the sport of mixed martial arts has started to get bigger, and like I said, mixed martial arts has evolved, and the kids have better textbooks now, and I think that's the biggest thing, the fact that they don't have to filter through as much of the information as we used to have to back in the day.
Yeah, I share the same idea with students all the time, just to try to impart the concept of gratitude for how good it is. You know what I mean? Like in this world of martial arts, because I remember a time starting jiu-jitsu when to meet a blue belt was a big deal. If you could learn from a blue belt in the mid-90s, it was like you had access to some special information that was not, easily found. And now it takes for granted that most jiu-jitsu schools have a black belt or a few black belts. They're everywhere. They all have access to this knowledge. The other thing was, I feel like when you talk about the evolution of the art, a lot of people get left behind because of their unwillingness to evolve. And I feel humbled by the changes in jiu-jitsu. Like the leg lock game, I feel like when it started really taking off, I was like, all right, I gotta put myself sort of in a white belt frame of mind, which is, no matter what belt you get, your ego exists. Like you hear the expression like leave your ego at the door. It's just an idea. You can't actually do it. You can't take your ego out. It's more like just suppress it while you're learning so that you can let the information in, because when you're, and I think a lot of martial artists, maybe even particular successful ones that are good in one arena, have trouble turning that off and coming in. The ones that say, okay, I'm going to just learn and be a student. And I'm always going to be a student. No matter how much I'm a teacher, I've got to be a student for part of my time. They're going to continue to grow, and then there's going to be a group that just like the old school way, leg locks, and it's like, are you crazy?
You're absolutely right. I completely agree with that. And there are people that you can see that, and I can like point out people like at the top of the game and in the middle of the game, and some guys at the end of their careers, you know, who are students, but like it's visible. It's easily visible to somebody with, I think, with an eye like with some experience in the sport. A couple guys I think are students of the game. Dustin Poirier, Kamaru Usman. You know, a guy who's been around for a long time. He's been at the top, but he's older now. But he's still a student of the game. Matt Brown. You know.
Oh yeah. Well, look how his mindset has translated to the people he coaches.
Yeah.
You know.
It's James Krause. You know, these guys who you see getting better every time or performing at a high level consistently. You know, but really it's the getting better every time out, or they're showing something new every time out because they are evolving within the sport. But the only way to grow in this sport is to seek out new and better knowledge, but also to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You've got to be uncomfortable to grow.
So this is a pretty open-ended question that could probably be answered over the course of 8 hours, but see if you can do it in just a few minutes. How has training in the martial arts shaped your worldview? 2 minutes, go.
Oh man, that's different. I think when I think about that, it's like training in martial arts really has taught me about honor. I think honor has been a big thing to me throughout my life. I grew up reading comic books and loving martial arts, you know, so the right thing to do. But like for me, I watch the world and I recognize like there are some people who are just not going to do the right thing. There's a lot of people who are not going to do the right thing. So with the amount of time that I've put into martial arts, I've learned that like really you can count on yourself. That's it. There's plenty of great friends and I can believe in them, and I have friends that I can count on, but don't rely on them. You can count on them. I guess that's a better way to put it. You can only rely on yourself, but like you can count on. There are some people that you can count on, but you have to know who those people are. And I think I've learned how to be better about that through martial arts. I've learned, I have no friends that've never been punched in the face. I can't be friends with a man who's not been punched in the face. I can't. That guy doesn't know who he is as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. You know, so.
But that's like I like that because, and I suppose maybe you could substitute punch in the face for something else, depending on the environment. But I completely agree. It's like, how can you know who you are if you haven't been through some really hard times? Yeah.
Yeah. What are you gonna do when you're down?
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna fold and quit? Like everybody has that line. Like everybody does. There is something out there that will make me fold and give up, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
And it's certainly the horizon line for that has been pushed back because of your experience as a martial artist and fighter.
Absolutely. Because you know what things take. It's like sometimes I watch. Recently, they've been having trials for the Olympics, and I've been watching some of the track trials, and I understand, but I don't to some degree. When you're running the 1 mile,
mm-hmm.
and you're on that last straightaway, and you have to dig deep, and you're pushing hard. It's like, of course, because I'm not doing it, I can feel like, how do you just not push every step? If this is what you really want.
Yeah.
It's different in fighting because like the playing field is different. It's not just getting to a destination. It's trying to outwit this guy and but also not folding. But in fights, like shoot, we saw like I saw a man who is a warrior. I saw him hit his breaking point, and he went to war. You think about that fight with Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald?
Yeah.
Like But the reason why he hit his breaking point, because his face broke.
Mm-hmm.
His face broke and his body said, no, stop, please.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like an internal protective mechanism took over
Right.
his conscious ability to fight again.
Like,
But you can say fairly, that's a
legit fine breaking point.
Yeah.
That's what it takes to stop you. Cool. Because like right now, your brain, like even though your brain decided like, okay, we can't risk this anymore, right? Because that's in the context of this competition.
Yeah.
I think if that's for his life, like I don't think Rory quits. That like he's not gonna sit down like that.
If it's an actual war, actual fighting to save someone.
Right.
Yeah.
So like these things are like martial arts. I think martial arts does that, man. Like battle itself is an aggressive, savage, and like that stare down that he had with Crow Cop. You know, the Crow Cop was just looking him dead in the face. Crow Cop is a martial artist, but like he's a soldier. I wouldn't put it past Crow Cop to have killed people with a knife with his hands.
For fun.
You know, I wouldn't say for fun, but
you go to that sociopathic sort of focus.
So but he lives among us.
Yeah.
Tim Kennedy.
Yeah.
I know Tim Kennedy has kills.
Right.
War.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's killed people. But like Tim's a really nice guy. He's like he can interact with people on a normal level, but like he's had to do that. You know, so and I think martial arts has a lot to do with that. Like for soldiers leaving the military, you guys with PTSD, I think like jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, that's a great thing.
Well, I've talked about this before, but there's something natural about war in a way. Like it's the worst thing ever, but there's almost, I feel like there is an instinct in human nature that we developed over eons to survive. It's in us to fight. And you can say, well, fighting is wrong. It's like, of course, we don't want to fight, but we do need to express ourselves and we need to struggle and we need to go through challenges. And martial arts allows you to do that without anger or hatred. It's like if you and I train, it's like there's no question we're really trying to beat the other person, but the negative emotion of animosity is missing. It's completely gone. We can actually laugh, in between trying to strangle the other one. And so it's a very different, healthy way to express that primal nature.
Since 1996, I've been punching people I consider friends in the face.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you explain that to people? Because I find like that's one of the hard things to explain when I describe jiu-jitsu. It's like, what's jiu-jitsu? Oh, well, we start on our feet. It's like, imagine a fight without punches and kicks. We grab each other, we're going to go to the ground, and then we're going to try to move to a position where we threaten to choke the person unconscious, or we threaten their limbs with, damage. And I don't say it like that. Of course, I'm talking about the character stuff, but eventually you have to get to the dangerous element of it, and some people have a hard time trying to understand, but they have a hard time initially understanding why that is the best thing in the world. And it's obvious to the person who has trained for a while, because there's that, I'm sure you've seen it with students, that moment where they're like, man, I just gotta tell you, man, I love this. And they don't know how to explain it, because it's hard to explain. Like, I don't know how to explain it, man, but this is it. This is, like you said earlier, like this is true. Yeah. Something very true about this.
Yeah, absolutely, it's the truth. And jiu-jitsu, especially jiu-jitsu, and I think jiu-jitsu is more dangerous than kickboxing when it's being applied for your life. Right? Kickboxing is just as dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't say just as dangerous. It's dangerous, but jiu-jitsu is more so, because I think jiu-jitsu is more so. It's more definitive finish. Like, anytime that I'm training, especially now that I'm no longer competing, like chokes, like I try to fight out chokes until the last second, because like that's my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're doing this for real, like this is where you could die. But like also an armbar, that like, okay, I'm fighting this guy for my life and now my arm's broken, so now I have one less weapon, and it's not over.
Yeah.
You know, so like these concepts that these skills will help you protect your life. That I think that matters a lot. For me, like when people ask me what's jiu-jitsu, if I give them the short answer, it's like, oh, we just play murder. I just play murder with my friends.
Yeah.
You know, and then they look at me like it's weird, and then I explain that to them. But like, it of course it's common. I was like people play football. Football is like war, really. Like you got to get your objective into the opponent's end zone. Like you're pushing them back, just like you do in the military. You try to push people back.
You're covering ground and invading territory.
Exactly, right? Well, that's what jiu-jitsu is. Jiu-jitsu is you're trying to manipulate this person into allowing you or being smarter than them to put them in a position where you can end their life. Yeah. But like, we're just playing. Mm-hmm. We're just like guys go to the gun range all the time. Yeah. You know, guys play Call of Duty all the time. Well, this is like playing Call of Duty and chess.
It's almost like every game has an element of war to it. It's like chess is.
Yeah.
You're trying to kill the king. It's like this is designed as a battle, and I was just talking with Andrew. You know, like we're playing like online. Neither of us are very good, but the feeling of like losing, really, it's real. Yeah. Because we're competitive, because we both compete and we both, you know, have that element of like we want to win and we want to demonstrate our ability to do it, and even on a small scale. And I can see how that, you know, could get out of hand. People can, you know, let that dominate the way that they are and not be very good in society. But it has to get out, you know. And it's your favorite Rick and Morty episode?
My favorite Rick.
I mention that only because I don't even know how much you watch it, but you turned me on to the show, and it's maybe my favorite thing I've ever watched. And so I just wanted to say thank you for introducing me to that show. It's amazing.
That's all good. That's great. That's one of my favorite shows, man. It's very hard to pick a favorite.
It's more like scenarios than episodes because there's too much going on.
There's so much going on. But I was like about to say this one is my favorite, but then I started thinking of another one. So I'll stick between those two. One of the two that's my favorite episodes. The one. I forget the name of the team because I haven't watched the Rick and Morty in a couple of months now. The Galaxy Defender team. The one where they are on this planet and where Morty wants to go on an adventure with them.
Right, and Rick thinks it's super lame.
And Rick gets drunk and passed out or something. And he sets up all that stuff. So I don't want to ruin it in case anybody hasn't seen it.
Go watch it, everyone. It's worth it.
But that episode, and then the episode where their dad is dating that alien, and they have that life bond. Those two episodes, I think those two things are related to life. I think we're told a bunch of things about you know being protected by, but like, are we really being told the truth?
Right.
And then like. People make these commitments to love and whatnot, and it's like, or they say these things where they make these commitments to love, and like you don't really mean that. Like it's just.
Well, in the moment it feels
real,
but your feelings might change.
Yeah. But like some people do. Like there's a species of human being, or there's a genre of human being who when they make that commitment, it's like that's everything for them, and like. You can't play with that.
I love it. Yeah, it's so smart, and I feel it really like encompasses so many important ideas. One is that like the universe is chaos left unchecked, and then you have this super intelligent person, but he's void of emotion, right? He's void of feelings, but he understands everything perfectly. He's almost like God. That's Rick, right? Yep. But he can't quite manage without these beings who represent the love that he needs, which is his family, but because they're emotional, they're idiots. And so it's balancing between their idiocy and his need to connect with them.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, it's perfect. Okay, so last thing. So with all your years and your wisdom, what advice would you give to a young Yves Edwards just about to embark on his martial arts journey, his fighting career, everything?
The things that you don't like, the things that you feel intimidated by, face them as soon as possible. Face those things as soon as possible, because there was a lot of things that I was intimidated by. I was intimidated by going into sparring practice when I first started boxing. So, like, let's say, I might be right about the times, but sparring was at 5:30, and then jiu-jitsu started at 6. You know, boxing classes at 6, they started sparring about 5:30, 5:40 into the end of class, and then jiu-jitsu was at 6. So I would show up about 5:45, 5:50. It's kind of late to get there and wrap my hands and warm up and then get in there and spar, because I didn't like getting hit.
Yeah.
You know, but like at some point I was forced to do it. I got good at it. I got better. I didn't get hit much. Same thing with wrestling. I didn't like wrestling. It's so much lifting, so much work, and all this stuff that I don't really understand. But like, I started doing it. I got some of the best wrestlers, college wrestlers, to come in and help me out, and I learned so much from them that it was like, once I started to understand it, it was like, oh, this isn't as scary as I thought it was. So the things that intimidate you, things that scare you, like, just expose yourself to it, because there's really, like, if a human being can do it, you can do it.
No. Cool. Thank you, brother. Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, please be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to share this video with somebody else. Thank you.